Number 3, let's look at Gavin Hatcher, who says, when I feel good, I find myself doubting less, being more loving, sinning less. How do I know if I'm growing in the spirit or if it's just my antidepressants making me nicer? Well, that's an interesting question. I would say you're probably not growing in the spirit, but that doesn't mean you aren't doing good things. Let me see if I can unpack this a little, at least my perspective on it, Gavin. If you take antidepressants and they help you, I don't see a problem with that. I'm torn on antidepressants, not because I think they're spiritually bad, but because I just don't know how much I trust pharmaceutical companies. I've known people who've had improvements and they're like, I'm so grateful I took those things. I've known others who had massive drawbacks and massive problems. And I just don't know that I trust these companies and doctors to always have our best interests or the knowledge to provide the best treatment for us. I've had a lot of bad experiences with doctors in my life and still continually do. So I'm like nervous about all this stuff for those reasons. But that's just me speaking on a personal level. I just want to say my hesitance there and why I'm going to take all that and just set it aside and go, let me just grant that none of that's on the table here. You're taking these antidepressants. They really help you. And when you take them, you find that you're more godly, right? You're feeling good in life. And so you're more loving, you sin less. How do you know if that's the spirit or antidepressants? Well, I mean, in a sense, it's the antidepressants, but it's not only that. Let me give you an illustration that might help. Okay, so from my perspective, how I'd understand this. When you're feeling good, it's for any of us, whether you're on antidepressants or not, when you're feeling good, it's easier to do good. You're positive, you're content, you're happy. And so for all of us, it's easier to do good when we're feeling good. That's not as much of a test of our character and our spirituality as it is when we're doing terrible. Now, when you're doing poorly, when life is going downhill instead of uphill, that's the more test of character. So I'm glad that this can restore you to feeling better. That's nice. And I'm assuming that that's like proper and good and that there's not all these bad drawbacks. I don't know. But that's a good thing. But that doesn't make you more spiritual because you would probably always behave that way if you just felt that good all the time. The real test spiritually is when you're down. So look at the book of Job. Job was tested when his life was terrible. This was a test. Now, nobody expected Job to be as friendly as he was before all this craziness happened in his life. And so that's not what I mean. But his faithfulness to God was tested through trials. First Peter talks about this, that our faith is tested through various trials, that it shows the authenticity of our faith. So it's those down times where I wouldn't expect you or anyone to be perfectly as smiley and jolly as they are, when they're up here, when they're feeling down here. But when they're feeling down here, the test is, do they yield to this increased temptation to sin? When I'm down, I get more easily frustrated. And this is probably something a lot of you would understand. I'm more easily frustrated with things and more quick to lash out or to have a bad perspective on issues. And it's a much more of a battle to slow myself down and stop and think and pray before I act. That's the test of my spirituality. So I would say it's positive that you're feeling better, but the test of your spirituality is those times when you're feeling down. Next time you're in a down cycle, can you behave more godly than last time? That would show spiritual growth, since your question's about spiritual growth.